Hello, I'm Scheherazade Tompkins Lewis, and I work with the Occupational Safety and Health Administration in Washington, D.C. Today, I am joined by my colleague Kendra Jefferson, Assistant Regional Administrator with OSHA in Region 6. Thank you, Kendra, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, today, Kendra, I would like for us to continue our conversation about OSHA's complaint process. Now, in our previous conversation, you shared with us the various ways one could file a complaint with OSHA and the types of information to provide that would be helpful to OSHA as we review the complaint. Today, can you tell me, what do we do when we receive a complaint?
Sure. Once we receive a complaint, we review and evaluate the information provided and we formulate a response. Now, there are two types of responses, a formal or a non formal. If your complaint does not fall within these categories, then it may become an invalid complaint. The next step we take into consideration is the inspection priorities. We focus on the most hazardous workplaces first when we're trying to determine if we're going to conduct an inspection on site. Also, when we're evaluating a complaint, we must be able to determine from the information that you provided to us if there are reasonable grounds to see if there is a violation of the OSHA standard or if a safety or health hazard exists.
Okay, so do you look at all hazards on site?
Well, items are generally focused in those specific things that are discussed in the complaint. Now, although there are other violations that might be in plain sight, they might be cited as well. The inspector may need to decide if they want to expand the inspection based on his or her judgment or if they have conversations with the workers.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about an invalid complaint. What does it mean for a complaint to be invalid? And what would cause a complaint to be invalid?
Well, we would consider a complaint to be invalid for a few reasons. One would be a lack of OSHA jurisdiction over the hazard or the exposure. Another would be that we don't have enough information or insufficient information was provided regarding the hazard. If no OSHA standard or regulation applies to that hazard, that would be another reason. And and if there is an alleged exposure that happened outside of our statute of limitations, which is 6 months. Therefore, no action could be taken against the employer.
So, do workers get involved in any part of this process?
Absolutely. Whether it is a formal or a non formal complaint, OSHA may contact you to get a better understanding of the hazardous condition.
Okay. And I think you touched on this a bit, but just to be clear, are all complaints inspected at the site?
As you remember, I mentioned that there are two types of responses.
Right, the formal and non-formal complaint.
Yes, exactly. The formal is when we would conduct an inspection at the work site. An informal or non formal complaint is where we would use the phone, fax, or email to contact the employer to achieve the hazard abatement. But I'm asking that you keep in mind that OSHA prioritizes its inspections based off of imminent danger situations, severe injuries, worker complaints, referrals, targeted inspections, and follow-up inspections. Now, the top three priorities are those imminent dangers, any fatality, catastrophe, where there are three or more employees that go to the hospital, or employee complaints and referrals.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Kendra, for taking the time to talk with us today. To learn more about your workplace rights, please visit our website at www.osha.gov.